Welcome back, FFR. It's still Giga Otomio, and we've got the last leg of this relay I learned was happening. With me, I have Aprebs.
Hello. Glad to be
Uh,
here.
Glad to have you. Why don't you introduce Worlds Collide and tell us what's going to be happening in this last leg?
Sure thing, I'd love to. So, with Worlds Collide, we take the vanilla Final Fantasy VI, and we go ahead and we randomize the characters that each racer starts with, and they go around and they start doing checks. Now, these checks are related to each character through some of the story elements in the vanilla game that relate to each character individually. So, depending on which characters they start off with, you'll see them start to go around and hit some of those story beats from the vanilla game to try to find an Esper or a character, ideally one of those two. And if they're a little less lucky, they'll still get rewarded with a high tier item. And they're going to go around and try to collect a certain number of characters and espers. And I believe with this preset we have, we're also going to have to find and defeat 4 dragons to unlock Final Kefka Tower. And once they have go mode, they can go to Kefka's Tower and go through the statue bosses there until they can defeat Final Kefka. And that's what they're racing for. Now, at the beginning of each run, you'll see it's all about trying to collect your offensive and defensive capabilities. A lot of good runners are going to be able to synchronize that with their with their checks and stuff, but you'll also see a lot of searching to begin the run. So we can talk a little bit more about what goes into it and how good these runners are while they're doing their searching.
Sounds good. I've got one donation to read out. Technically not even read out because it's anonymous and there was no comment. It's for $25.
Nice.
And I'll get to... Go ahead.
Sorry, what?
I'll get to my spiel when there's a lull in the run.
Sounds good. Alrighty. Now I'm just double checking with the runners here. I think we're almost ready. I think we may have lost one person's footage. Let me just double check here. Alrighty, I think we're good. Just waiting on that last bit of footage. All right. Yeah, let me check. So, when it comes to the, as you can see on the screen, the 2 runners that we do have their footage of, you can see some of the breakdowns and some of the gates that our runners are going to have to complete. So for unlocking Final Kefka, the boundaries right now are to recruit 6 characters, find 9 espers, and defeat 4 dragons. They have to do all 3 of those things to unlock the Final Kefka Tower. Now, they also have the option of unlocking KT Skip. KT Skip is a very important part of the race for some of these really high tier races, because normally when you go to Kefka's Tower, you land in with your 3 separate parties and you have to walk through the entirety of that map and work your way up to those buttons right before the 3 statue bosses. KT Skip, if you're able to unlock it, allows you to skip directly to those buttons, to those switches. And so essentially you skip a large chunk of that final dungeon in order to be able to go straight to those statue bosses. And I believe that the boundaries for that are to recruit 9 characters, 12 espers, and to have done 23 total checks. So
I'm sure if someone scrolls their menu down a little bit, we can see the rest of the
yeah.
possible requirements.
I do know that there's also a couple of other. It looks like we got the footage.
Mhm.
Let me get this started here. All right. There we go. Good luck and
I
have fun
s-
to the racers.
is that a run hash? Because I'm pretty sure Ultros doesn't join the party.
Correct. That's a run hash. Yeah, that's the making sure that we all have the same flag set and everything. Yeah. So that's if anybody wanted to try this out later, make sure that your run hash looks like that when you load up the game. Looks like we're starting with Gogo, Strago, and Shadow. Uh, pretty good set here. Shadow is always a nice one to see early on, especially if he does have throw. Um, we love to have a throw as a possible technique to have. It's a very strong offensive weapon for our racers here. Plus, as you can see, they all went and did one of his checks to start off with. The free check, really easy to do. No boss required, no fighting required. You're able to just check it out. And plus, there's a merchant there you can possibly buy some nice stuff with. And now we're moving on to see actually some pretty different uh, route options for all three of them. Fitz opting to go to Returner's hideout. Lots of chests here and some decent looting potential. Turdsman doing one of the OG strats and heads straight to Narsh to do a lot of looting there. There's lots of chests there, plus some shops to check out and see if you can get anything good. And Nobody War opting to go straight to Zone Eater, which is one of Gogo's checks. Potentially one of the more time-wasting checks based on your skill in getting past some of these bridges that are coming up.
You were talking about Shadow not necessarily having the throw command. What's up with that?
Yeah. So we also randomized characters. We can also randomize the commands that each character has. So just because you do have Shadow in your party does not necessarily guarantee that he's going to have throw. Um, and that goes the same with any of our other characters. Edgar might not have tools. The
Strago might not have blue magic.
Yeah, correct. Drago might not have lore. Realm might not have sketch. It swaps between everybody. Now, Gogo B is I'm a personal Gogo fan. Not everybody likes Gogo because generically his stats are lower than the rest of the party. However, he's able to put on any of the commands that the party has. Um, Total. And so he's very customizable, and you're able to use him really easily for what you need. So he's not bad. Plus, he has his innate mimic skill, and so that one he will always have. And that's always really helpful to if you do have some really nice offensive spells. He can mimic those. Not quite as powerful again because he doesn't have the stats, but still works out pretty well. And so, as I mentioned, Nobody War taking a bit of a gamble to go through the bridge here. Saberwolf in chat, keeping count for us. It took him a little while to get past those bridges there. Those bridges are pretty annoying. If you notice, we'll see if Fitz gets caught on any of these bridges. The goal is to try to make it through those bridges without running into any of those NPCs that are walking on them, or they'll knock you down a level and you'll have to walk back up the stairs and try again. And they can be quite finicky. So let's see if Fitz is able to sneak through here. That guy does not want him to get through at all. And there he goes. Fitz 1 for 1. He made it first try. Very good.
Nice. I don't think I've ever seen that area under the zone here before. Is that in vanilla?
And you must be pretty good at making it through those bridges. Yeah. Yeah, that is there in vanilla as well. This is pretty cool. You get to see here Nobody War and Turdsman both going through Figaro, but one of them is doing it in the World of Ruin, and the other one is doing it in the World of Balance.
Mhm.
There's a little bit of memorization and learning that has to go through if you want to get started in Worlds Collide Randomizer. There's some pretty unique like setups, and so for Figaro, South Figaro, there all the chests and the barrels and stuff are actually the same, and you can open them up
In either world.
in either world. Yeah, exactly. There are some places where you can only open them up in one world or the other, but South Figaro is pretty unique that way. And actually, it looks like from Zone Eater, Fitz and Nobody War were both able to get their first Esper, so they're happy to see that. And now they get to go out and do some more checks to see what we're looking for next. Now,
The Esper they got was Carbuncle.
that is
Are the
correct.
spells that Espers teach you also randomized?
Yes. In this seed, it is. The seeds for Worlds Collide are extremely customizable. As I was mentioning before with the commands, you can make those commands so that they stay vanilla. You can also limit the commands that are available. Sometimes, if you really want to really like a jet seed, it's really popular to by default commands like shock, like Leo gets to use in vanilla game. Those can become available to your party as well, and it's a great offensive command to have. By default, that one is usually restricted from being in the party, but you can actually make it available, and you can also make some of the other ones available. So it's the same with the Espers. We can have Espers teach a certain range of spells. We can have them sped up in terms of how fast characters can learn them, and they're also the stat bonuses that each Esper can give you are also randomized.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
I don't mean to take away too much from what the runners are doing, but about Bannon's health command, is that tied to getting a game over if the person using it dies? Or is that just Bannon the character?
I believe that is also one of the customizable commands, and it can you could find it on a character, a random character as well. It won't be tied just to Bannon.
Right, the command won't be tied to Bannon, but is getting a game over if the character who has the health command dies? Is that a thing, or is that just...
I'm not sure. I
is
haven't
that
seen that
mechanic
Yeah.
tied to Bannon?
I guess that would be canon tied to Bannon. I have not seen that so far.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a good question. We'll have to bring that up in the Discord. See if somebody has. Okay, Saberwolf in the chat is telling us it's just an ability to use. Yeah, I don't think that if we were to use that in like in our own party, that it would cause the game over. I think that's exclusive to that Leet River Bannon event.
Yeah, like for example, if Gogo had it, then it wouldn't cause you a game over if Gogo died.
Yeah, correct. So looking through here, we've actually seen a fair amount of checks to start off with a early run. We have seen some looting. It looks like now that we have a couple of checks under our belt that our runners are doing a little bit more searching now for what their offensive and defensive capabilities will be, as well as searching through the shops a little bit. If there's any donations, we can go through those, or if there are any questions from chat, we can definitely talk about that.
We do not have any donations at the moment.
Perfect. Okay. All right.
I can go through the spiel if you want.
Yeah, go through the spiel. Let these people know what they'd be donating to, because it's a definitely good cause.
All right. If you donate to our charity marathon, you will be benefiting the South Carolina Fighter Fighters Burn Children's Fund, which is affiliated with the MUSC Children's Health Hospital. The MUSC acronym is short for the Medical University of South Carolina. Their mission is to ease the recovery process for MUSC's pediatric burn patients and their families through supplies and training for the highest quality burn care, direct family support, and education. They do this in a few ways. They provide funding for non-medical items and services critical to the recovery of pediatric burn patients, including wound care and rehabilitative equipment. They provide funding for patients and families' basic needs during treatment, such as food, lodging, clothing, and transportation. They educate the parents and family members of their patients about burn care and safety, about funding for burn recovery handbooks, or they provide funding for burn recovery handbooks and materials. They fund necessary improvements and supplies to provide the highest quality burn care for the patients, things like pediatric burn hydrotherapy rooms, medications and dressing supplies. They educate burn care providers by sponsoring advanced burn life support courses for physicians and nursing staff, by sponsoring the American Burn Association memberships for the pediatric burn team, by encouraging burn care conference attendance, and by continuing education. They support burn patients' emotional well-being during and after treatment by providing child life specialist support, poison activities for distraction and exercise. They provide school re-entry programs and parent-teacher assistance. They run the FAN support program, or FAN Club support program, which matches firefighters with burn children to help them return to school and educate their classmates about the kids' experience. They also run their annual Camp Can Do, which is specially designed to help children suffering from burn wounds, and run image enhancement through special clothing, makeup consultations, and wigs. And finally, they promote burn awareness and fire prevention throughout South Carolina by supporting program development, training of fire safety instructors, participation in public awareness campaigns, development of teaching aids, and funding for workshops for fire and life safety educators.
Yeah, there you go. And that's a great charity to donate to. They're doing some good work there, some great work, helping change children's lives through something that no fault of their own affects them quite a bit. So that's wonderful. So definitely get your donations in for those, and see if you can put those towards any incentives for tomorrow's schedule. There's lots of fun things to be able to do incentive wise. Now looking here, we've seen a couple of things happen. We've seen a couple of people go and save Sid. If at the beginning screen, when you were if our runners were going to scroll down, you'd see that there is an objective to get a high tier item reward. There was an objective for either saving or letting Sid die, that both rewarded a high tier item. So we saw some of our runners do that.
But who would let Sid die?
Yeah. This is actually a very big point of debate in the Worlds Collide Discord.
I mean, it's probably faster.
It's a little faster to let him die. Some people decide that they think he deserves it because he is literally a war criminal, and others that say no, we're gonna save him for sure.
I mean, was he a war criminal by choice?
That's the point of debate. Some people think that he is, because he willingly went in to try to research these espers, the magicite, and even though it ended up being used for something he didn't expect it to, he did willingly do the research. So it's that moral gray area. But as Fly Eagles Fly pointed out in the chat, there is a pretty nice weapon that is available in the Colosseum. If you have the potential to defeat the character,
I believe it was.
Yeah, the Valiant Knife is always a really nice weapon option to see. The Valiant Knife does more damage based on your character's health. So when you get to those towards the end game, you get to those high level plays, and you have a character that you can keep at a pretty low HP, they're going to be dishing out lots of nice damage. So we're hoping to see some of those Valiant Knife strats towards the late game there. Currently, our runners are pretty low, so you'll see they're all now starting to grind some level up fights. With a typical Worlds Collide seed, the characters will start off at level 3, and as you continue to pick up characters, they'll start at the sort of the average level of your party. And character enemies and bosses will scale with your party. So I believe with this current flag set, we have them scaling at 2.5 times your current average party level. So our characters, and that will go up every time we do a check. So every single time our party, our runners run into another check and get another character or get another Esper, they are boosting their enemies. So they have to be careful. As they move through and do more of these checks, they need to make sure that they are also trying to take some fights and level up so that they can keep up and not get obliterated.
So they don't Final Fantasy 8 themselves.
Yeah, exactly. So their goal right now is to try to level up a little bit. I believe Fitz is in the lead in terms of levels at level 8 right now. And you see him going to that Coliseum and maybe potentially trying to get that Valiant Knife. Meanwhile, Nobody War is taking on some grind fights right here in the overworld. And Herdsman looks like he put a party with just Shadow. And this is a strat, so he's going to do that Zone Eater now himself. This is a strat that just helps speed things up a little bit. See, now Zone Eater only has one person to swallow.
Right.
And now he's right there.
There's no encounters down here, are there?
So with Worlds Collide, everybody starts with a Moogle Charm equipped as a relic, and that eliminates random encounters. So yeah, exactly. So for the most part, everybody keeps them on to start off with. However, as you see Nobody War doing right now, taking classic grind fights, he just took it off so that he could. And only one person in your party needs to have it equipped.
Right.
We do give them 3 to start off with, so that when they do reach the point, because there are a couple of checks that include multiple party arrangements.
There are points in the game where your party just splits off.
Exactly, right. In particular, Final Kefka is that final tower is one of those places where you have a total of 3 parties. So we always make sure that there's 3 in everybody's inventory, so that whenever moments like that happen, that each party can have a Moogle Charm to eliminate the random encounters. So yeah, it's that is by default what you start off with, but as I mentioned, we do have to take some of these grind fights. So you see Nobody War right now with it unequipped, making sure that he's being able to level up a little bit and trying to make sure he can keep up with these levels. He got a good look at the spells there that Carbuncle is offering. Quite a list of spells there, but nothing too crazy.
If you don't mind my asking, how do our players swap between the 2 worlds?
So yeah, as you go through, the airship is available to you right from the get-go, and it's on the airship that you can swap between the 2 worlds. Whenever you get to the bridge and you go to the steering wheel, as you hit the input to begin flying, it'll ask you what you'd like to do, if you'd like to land, if you'd like to move to World of Balance, if you're in the World of Ruin, or if you're in the World of Ruin, it'll ask if you want to go to the
It'll tell you
in the world. Either or. It'll let you swap between either world as well. Some other options will show up as well. If you have Setzer in your party, then you can opt to go fly directly and fight Doomgaze, which normally you would just run into by flying around the map in the World of Ruin. But you can actually go hit the button that says Search the Skies to go directly to that fight, which is one of Setzer's checks. So, as I mentioned, every character has a certain number of checks associated with them based on some of the story beats that are related to them in the main game. Yeah, and now you see from all these different route options, everybody actually has come to the same check here, which is the Cave in the Veld, which is one of Shadows checks, and it looks like they are going to have an Esper as a reward there. So they're fighting Senor Behemoth, as we like to call him, and which is normally in vanilla game kind of a scary fight. However, this is still pretty early on with low levels for our characters now, so this is not super scary. Still a strong boss, but not as hard hitting as we're accustomed to. Meanwhile, it looks like, I think Turdsman finished it up. So he got there a little bit before everybody else. Finding a couple of other new things here. Earrings is one of the relics that is very popular to see. Really boosts your magic power, and magic is quite OP in Final Fantasy VI. There are definitely some great weapon options to have, but magic is really, really key for some of your offensive capabilities. So earrings boost your magic, and whenever we have a character with high magic power, we love to see them having earrings on both ears so that they can really dish out some damage.
If I recall correctly, there's the gold and silver earrings as well that reduce your MP cost.
Yes, there are the relics that reduce MP costs as well. Yeah, those are nice to find. I would say that they aren't.
Not exactly necessary.
Yeah, not exactly necessary. With the leveling that we get, we don't really see the need to limit the MP cost all that much.
Right.
It just doesn't really. We're usually finishing our battles and stuff much quicker, so we don't really need them to be. We don't need them to be economized, so to speak. Which is
there is the economizer.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what puts your MP cost down to 1 for everything, if I recall correctly.
Yes, that is the one. Yep.
Yeah, you would rather have 2 earrings than 1 earring and an economizer.
Correct. Because and that's because for the most part with Worlds Collide we are racing each other. So
Right.
it's more about trying to get out as much damage as possible as quickly as possible, as opposed to just saving that MP. So it's whatever we can do to speed up our battles. Now that was another Esper for that Cave on the Veldt check. So it looks like all of our runners have 2 Espers, and they still have their original 3 characters though. So at this point in time, they're all probably hoping for another character. With the way that the randomization is set up, it's set up in a way that each new character you get, ideally, is giving you more of what you need. Right? So if you have 3 characters like right now, and you've found a bunch of Espers, you really want to make sure you find another character, because 1, it opens up more checks for you to do. And 2, there's going to be more stuff that you want to find behind those other characters. So definitely at this time, we're hoping to see more characters. And it's at this point where you also start to see our runners have to go and do some of the other checks that are typically less popular, because they either take up more time, they're pretty long, or they are generally harder to do. So this one in particular, Burning House, that Nobody War is doing right now, is one of the ones that is a little less popular to do, because there's a lot of forced encounters within it. So, and Saberwolf is saying one of the other really long time sink checks to do here is the Floating Continent. The Floating Continent is sort of the end of the first half of the game, essentially before the World of Ruin comes into play in vanilla game, right? The Floating Continent has 3 parts. Now, what's nice about Floating Continent, you get rewarded for doing it. It's a huge time sink because it's a 3-parter, and you end up fighting, I think, a total of 4 bosses. However, you're guaranteed progression for 2 of those 3 checks. it's guaranteed to be another Esper or character for 2 of those. So it is a big time sink, but it ends out netting you more progress for the most part. And Saberwolf, one of our other pretty active runners and commentators, is calling. He says he thinks that that character 4 is going to be at the end of that check. So we'll see. We'll see if nobody war gets lucky here at the end of Burning House. One free fits. You see him in this dark rooms. He's going through Ebbett's Rock, which is another pretty unpopular one because it's very RNG heavy. The goal is to go around and open these chests. Oh, they're fighting the Three Stooges there. And to open the chests, and you find these shells, and or coral or something like that. And
coral, it did say.
Yeah, and every time you open it, it has a chance of giving you between 1 and 5 pieces of coral. And you're trying to collect a certain amount, I believe it's 25 maybe, before you can open the path to finish the check. And only then, once you have the amount that you need, you also have to be lucky enough to be taken or teleported into the correct room to then deposit those coral and get to the next piece of the check.
Do you get teleported around at random?
Yeah. So as you move through and you hit the switch that teleports you to another room, it's not always guaranteed to take you to the same one. And so you have to hope to get the correct one, and then be able to deposit the coral. Yeah. So it's another one that's pretty unpopular because you could get lucky and you could get 5 chests with 5 coral, or you might have to do a little more digging, and then after that, even you have to hope to get to the correct room. So,
right.
So that's what we're seeing here. This seed is really putting our runners through and saying you're gonna have to do some of these checks you don't normally like.
I did see Terra at the bottom of the Mage's Tower on one of our runner screens.
All right. So that's good though. That's good knowledge. Some of these checks are what we call peekable. You can see the reward before you get there to decide if you want to commit to it or if you want to maybe come back to it later. Not all of them are peekable, but some of them are. The Cave on the Veldt, as we saw earlier, we could see Interceptor sitting beside that piece of magicite. If it were a character reward, we would see that character standing there. And then if you were to see like an NPC sprite, like a soldier or a ghost or something like that, then that would just mean it's a high tier item as a reward. So some of these you'll be able to check and see and say, you know what, that's not worth my time. Or if it's an Esper, great, but I want to come back and get a character first.
Makes sense.
And yeah, it's pretty key. A lot of our runners really love to have that info and be able to check and see. So now whoever it was that saw Terra at the bottom of the tower knows, okay, at the bottom of this tower, I know Terra's here. Let me get my offensive capabilities up. Let me make sure I have enough magic. If it is like Fanatic's Tower, for example, where only magic is usable, then let me make sure I have strong enough magic to do some actual decent damage, and then I'll come back and get her. Looks like Turdsman is actually going to head up and go to Floating Continent. He's got a rough fight here.
We do have a question in from chat. Fly Eagles Fly asks... Oh, no, sorry, not Fly Eagles Fly. Len the Cat asks, why was nobody war running during a boss fight?
That's true. With that boss fight in particular, Chardanook, you've got that where she switches between like her demon form and then her like painting form. And you don't want to hit her while she's in painting form, and then you want to make sure that he may have also been buffering at a command, so he may have like hit a command to attack, and then she swapped to her painting form. So he may have started running as a way to try to buffer that fight command so it wouldn't go off while she was in painting form. And then as she comes back to demon form, then he can stop running and allow that fight command or whatever attack command he used to go off.
Mhm.
Turdsman, you saw there, did go up to fly up to Floating Continent and got two pretty tough random fights. And I say random in terms of enemy, that those are forced encounters. But one of them was a series of level blank magics, which is pretty high damage magical enemies that cast very powerful spells. And then the second one was actually Katana Soul. Katana Soul is a great enemy to see in terms of the fact that you are rewarded with a great relic whenever you defeat them. However, they are very hard to fight, very, very powerful. And with, again, the levels that our characters are at now, they're still pretty, like, low mid tier right now. That's a scary fight to see. So it looks like Turdsman is going through and he's going to do the Burning House as well, take on some of these forced encounters to gain some more levels, and then we'll probably try to go back to Floating Continent. Katana Soul does drop a very popular item, which is the Offering, and that's the relic that allows your character to hit 4 times. A lot of people see that and they think, oh great, like I can do 4 times as much damage. The caveat with the Offering is that each attack only does a quarter of its normal damage. However, there are some items, some weapons that cancel out that restriction. The Valiant Knife that we talked about earlier being one of them. So, knowing that there's a Katana Soul on the way to Floating Continent, and knowing there's a Valiant Knife at the Colosseum, that's a good combo right there. If you can get the Valiant Knife and then have that character with low HP use it, they can potentially do quad 9 damage 4 times. Very, very powerful combo there if they're able to make that work.
Extremely powerful.
Yeah. So it looks like here we're seeing Fitz and Turdsman go through that Burning House. Fitz taking a heavy hit there, fighting against Chardinuk. But you can see Strago there using that magic, that fire, they're breaking the shield. There are some elemental shields in the game: fire shields, thunder shields, ice shields. And you can actually break the shield. You can use the shield as an item, and it will cast a high level version of that elemental spell.
Does it consume the shield?
It does consume the shield.
All right, so it works exactly like rods in Final Fantasy V.
Yeah, rods are the same. We can also use rods, break rods in this game as well. So, but shields will allow you to do the same thing.
Gotcha.
So rods and shields, you can use those if you don't have. It looks like we have a character behind Chardinuk there, and that is Setzer, Grandpa Setzer there. So that's good to see. Good to see another character. Opened up some more checks here, and we'll see if Fitz ends up going straight for one of Setzer's checks. That's what I would do. It's a great way to ensure some more progress.
Is Setzer that old? I thought he just had white anime hair.
He just has white anime hair. We just like to call him Grandpa Setzer.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Setzer looks pretty good, though. He's got Jump as a command, which is a pretty powerful physical command to be able to use, as well as provides a little bit of defensive capabilities, because once that person jumps in the air, they're not able to be targeted. And they have some natural magic as well as some fixed dice. Fixed dice is another, I think, great weapon. There's one person in particular in our community who is not a fan of fixed dice. But fixed dice can deal out some great damage. Depends on what that person rolls. Every time they use fixed dice, they roll the dice. If you get a good roll, you deal really good damage. If you get a bad roll, you can deal really crappy damage. So some people think that it slows you down in the long run, because if you happen to get a series of low rolls, that fight could have been over much quicker. But sometimes you get really lucky, and it really helps you breeze through some of these bosses. Alrighty, so Setzer at the end of the burning house there. Uh, that's good to see. It looks like Nobody War did have a hard time fighting Chardanook, so I don't think Nobody War actually finished the burning house. So he might
No,
come
I,
back
I
to that.
think Nobody War reset.
Yeah, yeah, they were having a hard time fighting there. It looks like they just reset out of the Stooges fight as well. Uh, this is a bit of a difficult one. There's been they haven't been too lucky with finding incredibly powerful weapons until just now with Fitz finding the fixed dice and having that Valiant knife at the Colosseum.
I believe Turdsman also has Ragnarok.
Nice, that's a good one to have as well. Ragnarok arguably is like the second best sword weapon in the game. If you get lucky when you swing Ragnarok, you get that random casting of the flare spell as well. So pretty good, and that's a really nice element free damage that you can do. Some of the bosses in this game will absorb any element, so having something that has a non-elemental damage can be quite key. So Ragnarok is a really nice one to have.
Yeah, in proper Final Fantasy, Flare never has an element. I come from Mystic Quest, where it does. It's fire element.
Yeah, it's really interesting. That's one of the things that I love about the different Final Fantasy. It's a love-hate thing, right? Because it's like it's when they are different, it's interesting. It's kind of new. It's interesting, but at the same time, it's like why the heck isn't it the same? All right, the thief in Zen, the guy who hides behind those trees there, Fitz just bought from, had another piece of Esper. He had the Odin Esper. Nothing too exciting about those spells there, but looks like Fitz already has 4 Espers, and now has that 4th character. Let's see, he might end up. Okay, he's going to the floating continent now. Yeah. So Fitz looks like he's in the lead right now, just having the most characters and the most Espers. We'll see what happens. He still hasn't fought any dragons. Dragons are a high risk, high reward option in the game. Dragons do count towards your scaling. So if you fight a dragon, the levels will go up, just like they would with a check. However, they do offer a lot of EXP as reward, and they also offer a high tier item as a reward when upon being defeated. So, those are good ones to do. We might see them start to do that as they find more characters that have checks that coincide with dragon locations. And we'll see here. Fitz fighting the scary fight here against the Katana Soul. You could see some of these forced encounters. So one of the really interesting things about Final Fantasy VI, this is true in vanilla game as well, is that some of these fixed encounters are actually you can run away from them. So that first battle with those scary level 40 magic enemies, that one you can actually run away from. Katana Soul, though, however, you cannot. So these guys are taking on this fight here. Again, there's also a great reward for defeating this Katana Soul as well, so that's another incentive to try to defeat him. We'll see what happens here. Nobody War going through and doing the Opera House. He's not going to go through the entire check because he doesn't have Celeste, but he is opting to go to the Opera House in order to fight this dragon. So, seeing one dragon fight there, you're seeing how powerful the Katana Soul is, and giving Fitz some trouble there.
I think we've got some help coming in from chat too. Saberwolf saying Fitz has 4 characters for Magicite. Turds has 3 characters, 1 Magicite. Nobody also has 3 characters, 1 Magicite.
Yeah. Fitz and Nobody War and Turdsman both getting a little bit blocked by that burning house.
Oh no! Not reflect.
Yeah, not reflect. Uh-oh. That's a tough one. Didn't see that coming. Oof. And that was one of his main damage right there. Ooh, seeing a bit of a desperation attack out of Shadow there. When characters are low on HP and you attack, they can sometimes do a special desperation attack.
Specifically, it's 1/8 of their max health, I think.
Something like that, yeah.
A quarter to an eighth.
And
Is
so
around when
saw
it
one
starts.
come out from Shadow there, and now that got him through the fight. Very nice, very nicely done there.
Mhm.
Took some hits there. Unfortunately, Gogo and Strago not getting any of the EXP for that fight, but I think the trade off is still on the positive end there. Nobody War defeating that Skull Dragon, so now Nobody War is probably feeling a lot more confident in his levels. He's back in the town where you can rest at the inn to do the burning house, so it looks like he's probably going to try and go back to do that now that he has a little bit more levels under his belt. And he'll probably be very happy to see Setzer and another character. Yeah.
Well, who's the second character? Interceptor?
Yeah. Interceptor would be great if he was a playable character, for sure.
Unfortunately, he's just a status effect.
Yeah. We do love the good doggo. Alright. Oh, Doom. That's a scary one to see. Floating Continent is not holding back. Doom is, of course, one of the final bosses of the game, one of the statue bosses. Bosses are randomized completely. You can adjust seeds so that the statue bosses stay at the statues. But if you have them completely randomized, then the statue bosses can come out at any point in time. So Doom is a scary one to see no matter what. Again, we are lucky that we're still pretty, in the middle levels now. So Doom is not again going to be as dangerous, but he still has some of these really annoying status effect damage and status effect abilities, such as Setzer and Strago being frozen there right now. But we do have the Valiant Knife offering combo on Shadow, so we'll see if he's able to do enough damage.
Looks
here.
like it.
Yeah. Doing a
The-
decent chunk of damage. The aura is shaking there on Doom now, so we've got a decent amount of damage on him. Hopefully he just is able to keep Shadow at that nice chunk of health there.
So,
Yeah.
what's the deal with frozen characters? Are they unable to do anything? Do they?
Yeah, frozen characters
shatter?
are unable to attack or do any damage or magic or anything like that. They can be unfrozen if you have a fire elemental attack that you can use on them. Then you could actually target them and unfreeze them. It will, of course, do damage to them, but that is the best way to unfreeze them. Or you can just wait it out. However, it can last quite a while.
So it's like a version of petrification that wears off. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah, you can think of it as being petrified, but it will wear off eventually, or you could melt them, so to speak.
Right.
And Fitz being able to take out Doom there, that Valiant Knife offering combo really working out there. You can see the potential already for it, the fact that he was able to consistently deal about 870, 880 damage. You can see where that potential will go once his health gets higher, and that discrepancy between max health and current health can really, really shoot up and create really big damage. And yeah, we got a little Ultros appearance there as well. Interesting to note is after that Doom battle, we've got our next reward there is Raiden, or Raiden, however you like to pronounce it. With decent magic, but there is a stat boost associated as well. So that's MP plus 10 for every level up, so that's not bad. But you can see that he's back at full health, so that's a nice little bonus, is at the end of that boss fight, which for Doom, that's a scary one. Everybody's able to be brought back up.
The most official pronunciation for that I can think of is Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah.
They pronounce it Raiden.
Yeah, they do pronounce it Raiden. And I think Mortal Kombat started to also pronounce it Raiden as well. I'm pretty sure like early Mortal Kombat stuff, they would call him Raiden, but I think Raiden is the correct one.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So now we're being able to see some of the actual floating continent moving through here. Bit of a confusing place to go through, on a vanilla run or when you're first doing your first couple of randomized runs.
I don't know. It seems pretty linear to me.
It is pretty linear, but the map being pretty monochromatic and a lot of it looking the same, finding those buttons can be a bit of an issue, and knowing where to go. But we make our way through here, seeing these little teleportation gates. Now, you do have the option here, as you saw Fitz looking down at the airship. You could leave there. You could leave and just leave after getting that first check. However, as we mentioned before, the next two checks, one of the next two checks is also guaranteed. So being able to do that is going to be important. And we do need progression here.
Guaranteed to be progression, that is.
Yeah, exactly. So Fitz fighting Haydn and the Haydn Knights. A bit of a meme boss. We love Haydn and the Haydn Knights, but it can be scary. Like if you face them really early on, can be a little bit of a difficult fight. But seeing them later on, it's just like, oh hey, good to see you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody War having a better time against Chardnook this time. And Turdsman actually finishing the Cave on the Veldt this time, or we'll see as they fight Behemoth. So we're seeing Nobody War and Turdsman coming back, getting through some of these other checks that they weren't able to do before. Pretty unique in this circumstance, in the sense that because they haven't found new characters, they can't just opt to go and do something else. They do have to come back to do these checks, because they're very limited right now in what they can do, because they still have the same three characters. Oh, and that's an experience egg from for Fitz there at the end of that boss fight, and that is a great option to have as well. Putting that experience egg on Shadow so that Shadow can really level up quickly and get his max HP up, I believe is what he's going for there, so that Shadow can really start to dish out that damage. Experience egg, of course, doubling the experience you get, so that level ups happen much faster.
Does it only double the experience for the character who has it equipped?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
So we will maybe see him swap it around later on, but with Shadow having the offering Valiant Knife combo, he might actually just opt to keep it on Shadow the entire time, just to really boost the potential for that damage. Mm-hmm. Once Shadow reaches a certain level, if he's playing for that long and has to level up for that long, he might swap it later on, but I don't see him really seeing the need for that until much later.
I recall in Vanilla, during the World of Light, Shadow would leave your party for little to no reason.
Yeah.
Does that happen?
No. Shadow will stay in your party no matter what for this. Essentially, I like to think of it as Worlds Collide is set up where everything is as if it was Endgame. Just your levels are low and you have to go find your characters. Right. But your potential for being able to fly wherever you want to go and go to whatever you want to do, all of that being open to you is like end game level, but everybody of course will have to go find who you need and go find the espers, and you got to level up. So he doesn't leave you, thankfully. As Saberwolf is pointing out in chat, yeah, it's for balancing purposes that he had to leave you in vanilla. But for us, because he starts off as a lowly pleb like the rest of the party, he gets to stay with you. Fitz just breezing through an Atma weapon there. You see this character following Shadow was a merchant, so we knew that would not be another character following him. He did get another Magicite, Fenrir. So heavy on the Magicite here, and now we're looking at the tower. And looks like Fitz might see his Terra here and breathe a sigh of relief. Terra is a very popular character in terms of checks that are available. A lot of her checks either offer a decent amount of loot to go with it, or they synchronize pretty well. So
I don't
there
think
we
that's
are.
the only way she's popular.
True, very true. But yeah, Fitz, I'm sure, is happy to see her there at the bottom of the tower. Of course, this is Fnatic's tower, so he's probably going to be relying much more heavily on Strago in this battle coming up, as opposed to Shadow.
Because Strago has better magic than pretty much anyone else on the team at the moment.
Yeah, because Strago has access to the better magic spells, it seems, as well as the fact that Strago's magical power, his actual stat for magic, pretty high compared to the other party members.
I noticed that was a dragon sprite.
Oh yeah,
but it looked
yeah,
a lot
there's
like the Hiryu from Final Fantasy V.
Yeah, the dragons are located in very specific places. This is one of them, so looks like Fitz will be taking this battle as well, since they do need to defeat 4 dragons to unlock Final Kefka. So we saw Nobody War do the one at the Opera House. Turdsman having an unfortunate need to reset out of that as well. Having a bit of a tough time with leveling, it seems. These are some tough battles that are being thrown their way for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And not a lot of potential damage other than that Valiant knife to start off with. As also Saberwolf points out in the chat, yeah, there also haven't been a lot of magical abilities that have been learned early on. Some of these later espers are the ones that are really giving some good magic options. And when I say good magic options, I'm talking about either tier 2 or tier 3 level elemental spells. Fire 2, Fire 3, Ice 2, Ice 3. Mm-hmm. The generic level 1 spells are really not going to be doing that much damage. So our racers are hoping to find level 2 or level 3 spells as much as possible. Or if they're getting really lucky, finding some of those bigger magic spells like Pearl, another Valiant Knife. Wow. Pearl or Flare or Merton are some of the other spells that we're looking for. But with that other Valiant Knife, there's potential here. Very early on, the first check that each of our runners did, that shadow check outside of Gao's house, they got a Genji glove there. So Shadow now has the potential to double equip a Valiant Knife and have offering. Now, of course, that would mean that they'd have to take off the experience egg of Shadow. But if Shadow can double equip a Valiant Knife with the offering, he has the potential of getting, 8 strikes with a Valiant Knife? That's a...
Sounds about right.
Yeah, that's a powerful potential there.
Extremely.
Looks like Fitz is having a little moment here, though. Let's see what he does here. Maybe he's just debating what he wants to do there.
Here's hoping he didn't fall asleep at the wheel.
Yeah, here's hoping. He's had a long night already. Maybe that just excited him too much and put him over the edge.
No, he's good.
All right, there we go. So, there we go. We'll see what boss he gets to fight here. Yeah. let's see what we get here. We know what the reward will be for Nobody War and for Turdsman if they make it through this their battles here. So something new here with Fitz. Let's see who he has to fight against at the top of this tower.
Poltergeist.
Ooh, there we go. Poltergeist is another endgame boss, another one of the statue bosses. We like to call him Spicy Chicken.
I can see why.
Yeah, I'm sure Saberwolf will hit us up with the Spicy Chicken emote pretty soon. But yeah, that's another scarier boss to see. However, Strago does have Ice 3, which is going to be really good for damage. Oh, you don't got that one. Too bad. I don't have it either, actually. I haven't haven't resubbed to the Worlds Collide channel. But there we go. Dealing decent damage with Strago. This is Fanatic's Tower, so the gimmick is the same as with Vanilla, is that you can only use magic within the tower. There is one fun little like workaround with that, and that is if you happen to have the Yeti on your team, which of course in Worlds Collide is potential. You could have that potential.
Imaro.
Then yeah, Imaro. If you have the Yeti Imaro on your team, he can only really do physical attacks. So he's still allowed to just like rage hit people. And
Yeah,
still
he's
do
just
that.
permanently berserked as an innate effect.
Yeah, exactly.
The same as Interceptor being innate on Shadow.
Correct. So Yumaro can still dish out some decent damage, even though it's mainly just only magic that would work there. So Yumaro is also a good one to have if you know that Fanatic Tower is one of the checks you have to go through. Which in this case, it's a necessary check for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Saberwolf, I'm pretty sure nobody rolled this seed. But yeah, look at that. We're able to make it through. Now, I always like to see early statue bosses in like at the beginning of my run or somewhere in the middle, because then it means I don't have them later. It is kind of scary, and if you're not prepared level wise, it can really slow you down or hurt you. But if you are prepared, as Fitz is, and you're able to make it through those boss fights, now if I were Fitz, I'd be breathing a bit of a sigh of relief, because now I know when I do make it to those statues at the end of the game, that Spicy Chicken and Doom are not there. Right. They're ones that I don't really have to worry about. They're the scary ones, especially at higher level, that now are no longer an issue. There's still a couple of other scary bosses out there. Goddess is still out there. Magimaster is another one who can be pretty scary if you don't have the right things to deal with him, because he has very high physical defense. And so magic is one of the only ways to hurt him, but he also has the potential to negate your magic damage based on his barrier change. So he's always an annoying one to run into. Those are the two main ones that come up in terms of like the ones that I'd still be scared of seeing. So Magimaster, Goddess, potentially Guardian as well, are the other ones that are a little scary that I haven't seen yet. But now that Poltergeist and Doom are down, it's a little bit of a relief. It's a little bit like, okay, those big guys are out of the way. I have less to worry about now.
Magimaster is normally is in Vanilla the boss of the Fanatic's Tower, right?
Yes, correct. All right, so here we go. Fitz now with another party member with Terra, is high enough in levels to feel pretty comfortable, but ended up deciding to swap out Terra into Gogo's spot. He must have seen that Terra's innate stats are a bit better. Looks like she does have a really nice magic stat, and is equipping the double earrings onto her, and is likely gonna use her to supplement Strago with magical damage. It's pretty good option there. And it's Illumina in the Hidden Tomb chest down there for Turdsman. Turdsman opting for one of Setzer's checks, the Hidden Tomb. A bit of another sort of longer check in terms of just having to walk around a lot, hit a bunch of switches, and do a lot of setup to get to the end. But there are the potential for a couple of nice chests, and Illumina being the arguable best sword in the game, as opposed to Ragnarok, which is the second best. Finding one of those is very, very nice. So, really happy to see that there, I'm sure, for Turdsman, now that they got through some of these more difficult boss fights, and now I get an Illumina. Whew. So, hopefully we'll make some of these next couple boss fights easier for him.
I was going to ask what was happening with Vargas, since he's normally where Sabin joins you.
Yeah, Vargas being just one of the bosses. It looks like both, and Nobody War, I think, also just completed this. But that was the Search the Skies option. Now that they have Setzer on their team, both Fitz and Nobody War opted to use the Search the Skies function, which normally would take you directly to Doomgaze. But again, because these boss fights are randomized, it happened to be Vargas and the Pooh Bears. So that's pretty nice fight to see there. Actually, not a real tough one, and they're able to get another Magicite out of that pretty easily. I believe it was Alexander.
Am I right in thinking the Pooh Bears is a insult?
Oh yeah. The Pooh Bears, or sometimes I think Saberwolf has referred to them as the eye toilets, because they're eye poo is what they're actually called. But yeah, it's here we see Fitz heading to Mobliz, I believe, is the little town you can do. This is also technically a peekable check. It is one of Terra's checks in the house before the trigger to start the boss battle. There's a bunch of kids, and if you go and talk to one of the little girls there, she will tell you, or you're not going to take so and so away, right? In the vanilla game, it's like you're not going to take Terra away, but for this, they'll say you're not going to take, and then it'll tell you the reward. It'll say the character's name, or if it's an item, it'll say the item, or if it's a Esper, it'll say like the Esper's name, right? So that's a technically peekable one, and the first half of that boss fight will always be Punbaba, but after he sneezes the party away, the next half is going to be the randomized boss fight. So in this case, Narapa.
Am I right in thinking Funbaba is never a proper boss fight in Worlds Collide?
If you happen to run into Funbaba as a randomized one, another fixed dice there for Turdsman. If you happen to run into him as a random boss battle, then he will be a regular boss fight. It will be essentially like the second stage boss fight for Pumbaba. Because at the first stage, it'll always sneeze you away. So that's why it'll always stay first stage there in the vanilla location, no matter what. But then if you were to run into him randomly somewhere else, it would be that stage 2 version of it. That way you don't get sneezed away and forced out of the encounter. Alrighty, so Saberwolf pointing out that was there Celeste spotting? I didn't see that. Turdsman did get Celeste. Where was Celeste at, Saberwolf? You gotta let us know.
I also didn't see it.
Yeah, I was quick. But Celeste is also a pretty popular character for many reasons.
She was the Tomb Reward.
She was the Tomb Reward. Nice. Yeah,
with an Illumina.
Yeah, so now we got Celeste with an Illumina. That is a huge find.
Is Illumina one of the swords that can be runic?
Yes. Yes, you can runic with Illumina. All right. Herdsman opting to go for the Magitech Factory. Magitech Factory is another one of those multi level checks in terms of there's 3 parts to it, um, 3 rewards, and I believe there's also if Turdsman gets through with Magitech Factory and then is lucky enough to find somebody with the Magitech command, which is another one of those commands that we're able to make available to our characters.
Mhm.
Then they do have it set right now where the reward for finishing all 3 checks of Magitech Factory is upgraded Magitech spells. So if he's able to do that and find somebody with Magitech, then he'll also get some really nice offensive and healing capabilities with somebody who has Magitech. We'll see what happens there. First, he's going to fight the Cranes, Nigel and Fraser. So, pretty decent. He does have Bolt. Interesting to see him use Fire. Unless I'm forgetting that one of the Cranes absorbs lightning. I'm not sure. But he does have Bolt 3, which should do some pretty fast damage.
5,032.
Yeah, look at that.
Pretty fast.
Indeed. Nobody War going through his battle with the Poltergeist here. And Fitz getting his Celeste now. Double checking, seeing if he wants to swap her in for anybody. Looks like he's opting to keep his party as is. He's got them decently leveled up and decently prepared. So it looks like he's going to keep his party as is.
Mm-hmm.
Turdsman making quick work of those Cranes. Going to move on now to the second part. He goes up these stairs, and there's going to be another boss at the top of these stairs. Working his way through this little Magitech factory, and opting for that extra little chest there. Here we go. Let's see who he fights here.
We got Turthman fighting Kefka.
Yeah, we got a Kefka sighting. Nice, very nice. Not too crazy of a battle here to go through. Fitz is working his way up through Narsh. Now that he has Terra, he's got a couple options here to make it a more viable walk up the mountain. Looks like he's going to go all the way up to check and see who might be hiding, if there is anybody hiding behind Kefka at Narsh. Kefka at Narsh is one of the... There's also a dragon there, so that's another good reason for him to make his way up the mountain there. So, fighting the dragon there. A bit of a scary moment. Some of these dragons can really hit you quite hard, but he's able to defeat it. Very nicely done, without losing anybody, which is great, which means that everybody gets that experience.
Mm-hmm.
You might notice he's always going to keep Shadow a little bit low. Of course, Shadow with the Valiant Knife, he wants to make another Valiant Knife from that.
Third one.
Yeah. Wow. That's a little crazy there. So another Valiant Knife there. But you'll see it is a little nerve-wracking sometimes to see the character that has the Valiant Knife equipped kind of in that low health state, that wounded state where they're kind of kneeling. But that typically is on purpose because we want to make sure we're getting as much damage out of them as possible. So, Turdsman is now on the minecart ride out of the Magitech factory, going through some of these forced encounters. These ones are also actually, you can run away from these as well. Turdsman is probably taking these battles though just to get a couple extra levels. Not a great roll on the fixed dice there.
It's
A
supposed to be
Rex.
fixed.
Yeah, that's my only issue with the fixed dice is that it says
The
fixed,
name
but it's always a
lies.
random. Yeah, but exactly. But these fights on the minecarts are also actually escapable,
Huh?
which most people might not know. It certainly threw me for a loop
First
when I
does.
first, yeah. And then yeah, using a smoke bomb, real nice decision there. We got Rex Soul over here at the top of Narsh, where Tritalk is. Not a bad fight either. Can be annoying if you're unprepared, but Fitz is in a really good spot now. A quad 9 from that jump at Setzer. Real nice to see that. All right. Now happens last year. We got one more. We got technically two more fights for Turdsman. We've got this boss fight against Tritalk here. We're going to be seeing him probably dishing out a lot of magic here to be able to actually damage Tritalk. And then when you get off the minecart ride, you'll get your reward. But then there's one more boss fight after that. So can be a bit of a scary moment, especially if you get a reward that you're happy with, and then you fight a really hard boss. We'll see what happens.
So, I noticed that Vanish and Doom are on two different espers that Fitz has now. What's the status on glitches?
So, is there a particular glitch you're thinking of?
The Vanish Doom glitch.
Yeah. I believe that it's not allowed. It's not.
Is it just not allowed in the community, like in the rules, or has it been patched out? That's my question.
I'm not sure. I believe it may have been patched out, but I think Saberwolf, if you're still in the chat, he might also be able to tell us. I'm pretty sure it's patched out, but if it isn't, then I know that it's kind of agreed that we don't do that.
Gotcha.
Looks like now that Fitz does have Celeste, he's gonna go straight to the Opera House. He's gonna fight the dragon first, and then he'll probably do the actual check.
Oh yeah, speaking of the Opera House, we do have an incentive for the second Worlds Collide run.
That's right.
Going on Sunday at 10 p.m.
Correct.
About doing the Opera House performance.
Yeah, normally we skip the performance. Normally we don't actually watch the performance in a normal run, as you might see Fitz do here. He'll just kind of go through and do the check and fight the boss and be done with it. But yeah, we do have the incentive for Sunday's run to actually sit through and watch the Opera House performance, which is always popular. I believe there are also incentives towards either saving or not saving Sid. So if you want to join in on that debate, throw some money that way. You're going to support a great cause, and you're going to help decide whether or not Sid is a war criminal or not.
There are incentives to save or don't.
Yeah. So make sure you check that out on Sunday, or really just look at any of the incentives scheduled for some of the other great games and runs that are going to be happening this weekend. And so, as you saw here, though, the main thing is that the Opera House, the dragon was in the World of Ruin Opera House, and you saw Fitz has to go over to the World of Balance Opera House now to actually do the check to complete to get the reward.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like Fitz might actually be doing the actual Opera House, though. Yep, he's gonna let you guys watch the performance.
The
Fitz
forces of the West fell and Maria's castle was taken.
Yeah. Fitz is always a fan of the Opera House. Yeah.
What's going on elsewhere?
Yeah. So looks like Turdsman is going back up towards Floating Continent, and Nobody War is actually doing the Kefka at Narsh check. I didn't see if there was a character reward up there, but he's got a pretty easy boss fight here, so we'll see very soon what the reward is, because that tunnel armor is going to go down very fast. It looks like Terra for Nobody War is dual wielding, possibly the Illumina and the Ragnarok. So nice powerhouse there. And let's see what we've got here as his reward. If his reward was a character, then it was Gao. Alrighty, so
Gao, who has Runic.
Gao with Runic, interesting. So there we go. So not a bad pickup for Nobody War there. Definitely happy to see more characters there. And now gonna do some of that looting that he didn't do before. All right.
I don't think there was too much important in here.
Yeah,
the elixir is
obviously
important.
Elixir is always great. Mega elixirs, with any game that has elixirs and mega elixirs, always happy to see those.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there wasn't anything too crazy or game breaking. Otherwise, we probably would have gotten a lot more excited about it when Turdsman came at the beginning of the game. But definitely happy to see Gao as a new character there. Gao has some pretty interesting checks to do as well that can be pretty fast, or that synergize really well with other checks as well. So some of these checks are interesting in the sense that they will drop you off somewhere. So you start in one area. In particular, the one I'm thinking of for Gao is the you start off in one part of the map and you end up in another part, and the creators who helped make and code up Worlds Collide were very nice, and they help make sure that the airship travels with you, so that whenever you do end up in that next spot, you could travel away from there. But sometimes they drop you off right in another spot where there's another check. So Nobody War making a quick hop over to World of Ruin Narsh in order to fight this dragon. Making sure that he gets those dragons down and ticks them off the checklist. And I wish let me see if I can double check how many checks each one of them has had, because that's the other thing. It's always nice to see how many checks each one of them has, so that we can tell who ended up getting the KT skip, because that's always a fun thing to do as well. So hopefully one of our... And Saberwolf is back with the the maestro playing for the opera.
The best sprite from this game.
Yeah, totally.
I can confirm, by the way, that the dragon sprites are the Hiryu from Final Fantasy V.
Oh, there you go. Nice. Alrighty, Turdsman was able to make it past the Katana Soul and the Doom fights. Definitely in a better spot with that, with where he's at now, level-wise and item-wise. So he's going to be making his way through the floating continent.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody War finishing up that dragon fight. So they're all now in a position that they're, I'd say, pretty comfortable with their offensive capabilities and with their levels. So now it's just a matter of finding what else it is they need left. So we're going to see, it looks like Fitz is going to possibly... Is he heading into the tower and loading up one lane? That might be what he's doing. Yeah, so Fitz is going into Final Kefka Tower, and he looks like he's loading up that center lane to possibly try to fight one last dragon, and get the last little bit that he needs. But he might be actually, in go mode. Just needs to get that last dragon. So
and then after the dragon is defeated...
Yeah, so essentially you can make it to Kefka Tower before having go mode, but you will only be able to defeat, hit the switches and defeat Final Kefka once you've cleared your objectives.
Mhm.
So he's coming early in spite of not having the last dragon, but there are dragons here in Kefka's tower that he can fight. So he's saying, okay, I have what I need. I have the characters, I have the espers. So only thing I have left is a dragon. Let me start to progress my way through the tower and get my last dragon while I'm there. That way I don't have to then travel there and go through the map and take extra time doing that. I can just go and get this dragon there.
You said dragons plural. Are there more than one in here?
I believe there are at least two. There's one on each side, so to speak.
Gotcha.
There's a left side and a right side when you get to the switches.
Mhm.
There's left and right, and then there's that middle lane. The middle lane just goes straight through to one of the statues, but the other two statues have a dragon on their way to them. So yeah, there's two in Kefka's tower. So he's opting to just load up one lane and send that lane full send to defeat some of these bosses on the way and get that dragon, that last dragon that he needs.
Mhm.
Saberwolf confirming that after the dragons, Fitz is still 2 checks short of a shortcut. So I mean, this makes most sense then. So here he is fighting one of the dragons, and may as well just make his way through the tower like normal, since he's still 2 checks shy of the shortcut, which I believe was 23 checks. So it's quite a hefty bit of exploring to do in order to unlock that check. So not a bad option. Pretty easy boss fight, easy dragon fight for Fitz here. The red dragon, one of the less scary dragon fights, and he's got great elements and offensive capabilities to deal with it. So really
Doesn't that
nice
mean
thing.
it also gives you less experience?
No, it still gives you bonus experience. And
Well,
he gets
yeah,
a
but less than the
item
other
node.
dragons, I mean.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's coded in if they all give the same amount or if they have differing amounts. I'll have to double check that as well. But I believe... Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they have them as different amounts or not.
I would imagine that they do.
Yeah, I would imagine that they do, because some of them really are just at face value a bit easier. I believe the Storm Dragon and the White Dragon, those are one of the ones that are like scarier because they lead off the battle casting some high level magic and stuff like that. So this one's not too bad. Alright, so Fitz walked out.
I'm seeing from Retrophile TV in chat that experience scales with level, but they're not providing any more context than that.
Alright. What's up, Retrophile? So now Fitz is going back through. He exited the tower. Now he's evening out his party. So instead of stacking just the one path with the dragon on it, now he's evening out his party to go through like normal. Yeah, Fitz is now running the full tower, exactly. So Turdsman finishing up his floating continent run here. Nobody War is just starting his floating continent. Alright, and I believe that... Okay, now Turdsman is finally going to go back and get Terra from Fnatic's tower. Or maybe not.
I think they just peaked it.
Oh, okay, they're healing everybody up first, and then they're going to go for it. Alrighty. So yeah, Fitz here with a seemingly his long night and his commentary for the Jets of Time run didn't tire him out enough to slow him down on this one. He's making a good time here. And yeah, huge shout outs and applause for Fitz here. Because Fitz has been commentating and following along with this marathon all night. And definitely deserves some recognition for being an insomniac tonight and putting out a good
Definitely.
run. Yeah. All right. And it looks like Turdsman is fighting one of the dragons here.
Hmm.
If you can call that a dragon, it's definitely a dinosaur.
Definitely a dinosaur. I'm not sure I'd call it a dragon.
Yeah. All right. By the way, I mean this is a good time if there's any other donations that
I
we've
will
gotten in
check.
through the night. Yeah, let's do that.
It doesn't look like it.
Alrighty. Well, it's still early morning, so it's to be expected. But
That
anybody
may
who
be.
happens to see this, make sure that you do run over, get your donations in. It is a great cause, and make sure you put some money towards those incentives for the other games. We got a great blocks coming up for the next 2 days. Really good stuff. Make sure you get it out there.
I don't think there's anything specific about everything going on Saturday.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Saturday's pretty spread out. I'm thinking of Saturday overnight. I believe is
Right,
the
you're thinking of the Zelda block.
yeah, the Zelda block. I always love Zelda blocks.
Zelda blocks are fun.
Oh yeah. Leader here against Fitz here. That's a pretty easy fight there. It's these boss battles that we run into in the tower that are always just they get your heart pumping because you never know who you're gonna fight.
Mhm.
Leader being one of the ones that you kind of breathe a sigh of relief against.
Is Leader from early in the game?
Leader is, I believe, the one at Doma Castle, or is
Gotcha.
that Commander? I think Leader is that one. Is the one Doma Castle when you first meet Cyan. Um, so yeah, pretty early game boss fight there. Even with scaled levels at this point, still just an easier boss to handle,
Hmm.
and always good to not see the scary boss there. But we still have a couple more here to figure out who they're going to be as we watch Fitz throw those weights down on the switches.
Question: what would have happened if you were standing on that switch while the weight was thrown down?
I haven't tested it out. I don't think it allows you to push the weight off if you got somebody standing there. That's always been an interesting. I've always thought about that too, though.
Maybe you should try it next time you're running
Maybe I
casually.
should. I will do that. I will do that. I will, and I'll send you the clip so we can figure that out together. Yeah. Alrighty, here's the Guardian spot. Let's see who we've got. If it's a vanilla Guardian, it's Goddess. Alright, so we've got no statue bosses at the actual statues. We've got a close to a statue boss here with Goddess at the Guardian spot. So Goddess is, and this is quite the team to fight Goddess against. Goddess can charm your characters, and with these two, oh, but that four hit Valiant Knife is just going to be too much, and Goddess goes down. That was that he made that look easy.
He made it look free.
Yeah, yeah. Setzer didn't even get to get his jump off. It was just quick and easy. Very really nice of that. And that's how powerful that Valiant Knife offering combo is. If you can keep the person and a red jacket there as well is not a bad option to put onto Shadow because that will also increase his max HP. So that was a nice little bonus chest there. Ooh, and that hit right there it's scary to see Shadow go down that low, but that just means even more damage. But as you get to these higher levels, it's also a little less nerve-wracking because you can still get decent damage out, even if they're still close to, let's say, 1,900 HP, because their max HP is just that high that they still do really nice damage. But look at that.
Speaking of nice damage.
2 rounds. Yeah, 2 rounds and he's done. That is that's what you love to see. That's what you love to see. We've had quite a few runs where the Mog, the Mog playable character, could end up with a Valiant Knife, and one thing we haven't talked about yet is that equipment in the game, it can also be randomized, right? Normally, equipment is limited to certain characters, right? Locke is typically the only one who's really able to equip Valiant Knife.
He wasn't even using the Valiant Knife. He was using Excalibur.
Oh, was he? Oh, I see. Well, there you go. That's I didn't even realize that, and that's just powerful damage, and that experience egg working wonders as well, and getting Shadow's strength up that way. Really, really nice. But yeah, normally relics, armor, weapons, they can only really be equipped by certain people. So another one of the quality of life changes that Worlds Collide makes for our players is that they make relics equipable by everybody. And then when it comes to weapons and armor, it's equipable by its original character, but also everybody has like a 1 in 3 chance of also being able to equip said item, right? So normally VK, the Valiant Knife, would only be equipable by Locke, but there's also the chance in the randomizer that it can be equipable by other characters. So we've had a couple of runs where we had Mog being able to equip it and just dealing out crazy damage, and we created a meme called the Murder Mog, and just being able to dish out all this damage and look cute while doing it really made it fun to watch. Got another decently easy battle here for Fitz with the tentacles. It is a little bit annoying to have it with a... Fitz is taking a bit of a gamble here, having 2 characters per party. It is nice and even, because he has 6 characters. But with tentacles, the tentacles can grab you and stuff. And so if they're able to grab one of your characters, right here, it sees it missed. And it missed again on Terra, so that's nice. So he's still able to get both of them to be able to dish out as much damage as possible. But if it is able to seize one of your characters, it just slows things down a little bit. But you know what? Now that I see, they both do have that sort of after image effect, right? And that actually is
status.
Yep. And so that is that's probably why he was able to do that and get away clean, since they weren't actually able to connect. So smart playing there from Fitz.
Absolutely. Blink status, for anyone who doesn't know, I doubt there are many people who don't hear, but it allows you to guaranteed dodge any physical attack. And correct. Dodging that physical attack will make you lose 1 stack of blink. You get 2 when you cast it on yourself.
Yeah. And that's going to be an important status effect as well. As we head towards Final Kefka, there's a couple of key things that our runners will sort of have in mind. One is they're going to keep track of what Espers do I have that can help me get through this battle as easily as possible. Final Kefka has 4 tiers. There's 3 tiers of the sort of like the towering Kefka, and then there's actual Kefka flying in the sky, right? With these tiers, there's also like last minute attacks that they have. Certain parts of the tower, Kefka will counterattack with sort of like death counters. So as they're defeated, they'll counter with specific attacks.
Right.
One of the ones that you tend to see pretty often, because we always try to kill the boss in a specific order, and I'll go into more detail as we get there. But one of the attacks you'll see often is 10 hits, where one of the pieces of Final Kefka will attack you with 10 physical attacks. Right, so
Mhm.
that one's always an easy one to try to avoid by casting that same spell.
Blink.
There's also an Esper that will auto cast that for you as well. Golem is another one that's really that our runners are going to be really easy to happy to see. I don't think we saw it at all this run, so but we do have Fenrir, and I believe Fenrir is the one that will cast that blink status.
Yeah, I don't think we saw gold.
Yeah, I don't think we saw Golem, but I'm pretty sure we saw Fenrir, and Fenrir will be that one that we're hoping to see, because that will also protect us. We'll likely see Fitz use it not on the 10 hits, but to help protect against Calmness. Calmness is the attack that Kefka counters with in Tier 3 that reduces everybody's HP, I believe, to 1. Right? Or I think it might even just be an auto kill. I forget if it's just everybody to 1 or auto kill. But regardless, it's one of the scariest counterattacks in the game. But it is a physical attack. Actually, it has physical attack properties.
Gotcha.
So we're able to use that effect to try to protect us. We call it calmness protection. So that's what we're looking for here. All right, Fitz is now here with Tier 1. There are 3 parts to this tier. There's the head and the 2 arms. So we're looking to try to defeat the one of the arms is susceptible to like an auto kill. So you might see Fitz using the spell X Zone, which will just defeat it automatically without any issue. It's kind of just like a disappear, right? The other ones are going to be weak to magic. Fire in particular is very good for this tier. And what we're hoping to see, we've already got 1 arm down. I think he got it on that first try. So 1 arm is down, and then he's going to try to defeat. I believe it's the head is what we try to defeat next, and then we try to defeat that clenched fist last, so that we get that as the counterattack. The head we do not want to kill last, because that one gives us the scarier counterattack. And
Gotcha.
honestly, I forget which one it was because I haven't seen it in so long. Because we have this very specific order that we do it in. Moving on to Tier 2 after he's done defeating this Tier 1. Tier 2 is a bit of a scarier one. It's got 4 parts to it, I believe. 4 or 5. Let's count again as we get here. You can see that tiger head. You can see that guy with the blonde ponytail sort of sleeping, kneeling down in the front. There's the blonde guy in the back, facing away from the party. There's the blue guy sitting on top of the tiger head. And then there's the red-dressed woman in the middle, right? Each of these have their own unique attack set that they do. And we kind of name them after that. So Tiger is obviously Tiger. There's tools, there's hit, and there's magic. Right? Tools will obviously use tools, kind of like Edgar does, and that's the one in the back that kind of looks like Edgar, with the ponytail in the back, facing away from the party.
Gotcha.
Hit will just do physical attacks.
Is that the one with the blue skin?
Yes. And then sleep is the one that counterattacks with magic, and then I forget what we call the other one, but they're the one that causes status effects. So we're trying to make our way through these with as little impairment as possible. So if we can get magic muted, and then not have to worry about some of these status effects, that's always one that we try to do. If we have mute, we always try to use that. X zone is also good to use here. It will also defeat one of these guys as well, pretty easily. Otherwise, we're just trying to dish out as much damage as possible. And I believe hit is the one that we're waiting for to defeat last, because then they'll do the 10 hits, which is the most manageable of those counterattacks, because then we're able to, if we can parry them with our weapons, if we can block them with our shields, or if we can just tank them, or use that sort of blink or vanish status effect. Right?
Or cover.
And that's what we do. Yeah.
Tara's got covered.
Yeah, exactly. So, and she's got a decent amount of, she's got a nice health pool right now. She's doing a pretty good job, yeah. So we're looking through, and this seems like a pretty good tier 2 so far. Fitz really knows what he's doing. Fitz is one of our really good runners here, and that tier 2 is already done. Made it look easy as usual. Here we're moving on to tier 3. So tier 3 is that main Kefka looking guy in the robe there. Is that's sleep. Sorry, I said sleep earlier, but this is actually sleep. And then there's girl, is what we call the woman head behind him.
Just girl?
Yeah, just girl. Girl will heal Kefka, will heal sleep if he starts to get hurt. So we want to take her out. But she's also absorbs any elemental damage. So this is one of those bosses I was talking about earlier, where it's always really good to see and have non-elemental damage options, so that we can try to take her out as fast as possible.
Like Flare or Pearl.
Yeah, exactly. Like Flare. Pearl actually is an element.
Right, there's a holy element.
Yeah. So
this is
Pearl
Final Fantasy,
is actually
not Mystic Quest.
Yeah. So yeah, Pearl is one of those ones that normally is a great spell to have, but we don't want to actually use it on Girl. But Girl's already defeated because of Valiant Knife offering Shadow. And here comes the Calmness. You saw that Fitz did use Fenrir in order to negate that Calmness. He did have that Calmness protection, so he's not scared of it at all. And we're moving on to tier 4, Dancing Mad Kefka.
Mm-hmm.
So Fitz is just putting on a bit of a masterclass here of a good Worlds Collide running here. Let's take a quick peek over at the other runners here. Nobody War is making his way through the Imperial, sealed gate. This is another one of Terra's checks. He might just be searching for another Esper. I think he might have the characters he needs, but he might be searching for another Esper.
And Turds appears to be doing the opera.
Yeah, Turds, doing some opera, giving the people what they love. And now we're here to tier 4 Kefka. Quad 9 jump coming out from Setzer. And we've got our damage. This is a race against damage numbers for Fitz here. Kefka, just like that.
I'm sorry?
Takes him out, yeah. I don't even have the time to explain. Kefka is kind of like on a damage timer, I would say. I'd like to call it. Once you deal a certain amount of damage, he starts to try to counterattack with an attack called Goner, which is a very powerful attack. And then once you get him past a certain threshold, he'll also he has the potential based on levels to cast really high magic spells like Ultima, and really high magic spells like that. So typically when you're fighting him, you're trying to calculate how much damage you're doing until you get right on that cusp, right on that threshold of him using Goner and Havoc Wing, which are two of his really, really powerful attacks. But Fitz was able to just roll right through it. He knew he had the numbers to be able to go through and just keep hitting him until he died. GG Fitz.
Wow, GG's. Yeah, that was. I had some real clenched fight in there for sure. There were I got by the real skin of my teeth.
Oh yeah, some of those
Um,
early statue fights.
Yeah, I mean, I found all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was that Doom one was close, and then the Poltergeist one was like even scarier. That was
Mhm.
the hero Strago, just really like 1-on-1.
Yeah, Strago really pulled it out against Poltergeist there. Well
Yeah,
done.
and
Though.
I didn't roll this seed, so I'm only responsible for cursing 2/3 of the relay.
Yeah. Yeah,
I think
was it nobody that rolled this seed? I'm pretty sure.
And I'm curious too, because like I think there was a different path through this seed by getting Celeste sooner at the Setzer check.
Yeah, I'm possibly, but even Celeste was hidden behind Setzer, and Setzer was behind the
Setzer was Burning House. Strago had 2 characters.
Yeah.
And one of them was behind Poltergeist.
Yep. Yeah. So Strago behind Burning House, and then Floating Continent as well, being a real key one for you guys. Everybody is going through. It looks like Nobody War and Turdsman both going through the Opera House here.
Yeah, we did agree ahead of time, even though it wasn't like an incentive or anything, that we would all do it before we got like our Kefka's Tower requirements. I did it a little bit before because I was like, I'm gonna get my requirements in the tower.
Yeah.
But I'm glad to see we all honored it. I think it gave a Minerva, because I had one at a certain point. I didn't have one before. But yeah, it was a tricky one. I think there were probably moments to be proud of. And
there's definitely some good moments for sure. But yeah, it was tough because it was it seemed pretty linear for you guys, because Burning House and Floating Continent being kind of your progression, kind of being locked behind that, and then having both of those blocked by a statue boss, really kept you guys pretty in sync and neck and neck for a large chunk of that first half of the run. And then it wasn't until you guys each got Setzer and then decided to start doing other things that it really started to split. Really interesting.
Yeah, I think I was aggressive of shields when I found them. That was huge.
Yeah.
And then
some of that early shield breaking.
That True Knight I bought made managing the final fight. Because I had the snow muffler on Terra, and then I held back my power overwhelming for tier 1 and 2, because I was like doing the math in my head. I was like, 7k times 8. We might do something bad if I don't have a little bit more control on the first couple tiers. And then at the very end, I was like trying to do the math. I'm so tired. I was just like, okay, those 2 jumps were 10k. I think I can 8 hit him down and not get ultimate, so let's go for it. I didn't expect Setzer to come down so fast. My plan was like, I'll do the VK swings, and then if that's not enough, Setzer should finish the job, but that's not how it happened.
Yeah. No, it was pretty interesting. And once you got that Valiant Knife offering as well option. It's like, okay, now I know what my main offense is going to be. So being able to make it through that made some of those last couple boss fights look real easy. So
yeah, I thought I had the big brain play of getting it out of a VK out of the Coliseum, and then there were 2 more that were just like along the way, basically.
Yeah.
I found an egg Oh, that was off a dead check.
That's right.
And but yeah, it was a good time. I was fortunate to have Fenrir for tentacles, so I never got grabbed. And that made that one.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about with Giganut, is that you were able to use that, and that ended up being your best boss protection, calmness protection as well. So made tier 3 look pretty easy because you weren't even worried about calmness because you had Fenrir. So GG, nobody war.
Oh, hey, thank you.
that
was a good one.
That was a heck of a seat, huh?
Oh boy. Wow.
Oh boy, dude. How did it feel being
if I would have like
statues?
first checked what's it called? The mountain place, the Terra free check after you got her. You know, that Illumina would have been great early.
Oh yeah.
Those 2 Ragnaroks carried me after I wiped on all those like early peak bosses.
Yeah, those 2 statues on Floating Continent and Burning House, pretty rough.
Yeah,
But
Floating
you guys-
Continent was mean, and then the spicy chicken too, because I was like, if I wipe here, I'm gonna have to fight this dragon again, climb the tower again. Like, that was the seat of the pants one.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, it was quite an interesting run. The Giganot and I had a lot of stuff to talk about, which is really fun. It was fun to go through and watch. We got Turdsman. Turdsman is chipping away here at Goddess over at the Guardian spot. So Turdsman's almost there. But yeah, you guys got to see all 3 statues, essentially. I was talking to Giganot here about it's scary when you see a statue that early and you're kind of blocked, but then at least you get to know that you won't run into them later.
Definitely.
And you found there ended up being a total of 3 Valiant knives, by the way.
Wow.
Yeah, I think Fitz, I think you got all 3 of them.
Yeah, that was definitely nice. Let me see I'm just gonna give an update on the overall relay standings. Pretty much as long as Turdsman finishes, that team is gonna win.
He was asking about how long the schedule had left, and if he had enough time,
run
then
out of time, then
I told
I
him
don't
the
know.
schedule had 15 minutes. It's down to 10 now.
I should have thought about this ahead of time, but kind of what I've been doing is like for any not finishes, like just adding 30 minutes to like the estimate basically as the time. So it's a little bit of fuzzy math. But I think overall everyone will finish within probably like half an hour of each other, which is pretty good for like a 3-legged relay with so many mean things in store.
I gotta ask, Fitz, did you consider at all using the Genji glove to dual wield the Valiant knives?
I mean, for the most part, I had it in my back pocket. I was like, I know I'm going to use it probably on tier 3 and tier 4, but just too many times in my Worlds Collide history have I had the double VK offering Genji glove, and I have triggered something bad happening on
That's true. If you happen to
tier
like
1.
hit the wrong people.
It was gonna be very easy on tier 1, and I had to hold Shadow back even.
Yeah,
because
I did notice that a little bit. Yeah.
the Quake would have been pretty bad, and then with True Knight, probably could have been a little bit greedier, because I just didn't want Shadow to go down. That was really the whole thing. So it was, I think, worth going a little bit slower to make sure that I could get over the hump.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I guess that we can explain that the caveat with that is that you can't target who you hit once you start to use the offering, and all 4 of those hits. If there's only one character on screen, obviously it'll hit just that character. But if there's multiple enemies on screen, then you can actually target where each one will hit. So there is that bit of a risk, especially with enemies that counterattack with specific attacks.
Yeah, because if we lose someone to one of those death counters, then they're gone during the tier transition, and we don't get a chance to bring them back into the fight. So
yeah, exactly. All right, but
Hey,
your
Fizz.
total time. Sorry, go ahead.
Fizzles. Do you want us to respect the setup block time, or should we go over just a little bit to let Turd finish the run out? All right.
Yeah, we definitely don't have time for a refight if something goes squirrely, but the tentacles, so annoying in the tower. There were just annoying bosses everywhere, because I had
really were
overwhelming in the center, but it was Inferno, okay, and then
yeah, there really were a lot of annoying bosses that you guys had to come across. Luckily, no magic.
The only one, yeah, so that's the one I was ooh, if I run into that fool in the tower, I'm gonna be real upset, because I think one person might have naturally learned Berserk for me. Setzer might have had it, but I never found it on Esper, so it was ooh, we're either gonna have to do this the hope I get lucky way, crack a shield right away. I mean, with the VK offering, that was a pretty good hedge, even without Berserk. I had a couple of sources of, Magimaster proof damage, but that's kind of why I was I gotta play the odds and load up the middle with my powerhouses.
Yeah, and you were just a couple shy of having skip too, so I was do I go for the extra checks or do I just get the dragon and walk through?
Yeah, I was doing the math where it was okay, can I find 3 Espers real quick? But I had exhausted a lot of the opening character checks, so it was kind of usually when I chase it like this, I end up getting 2 characters and then an Esper, and it's oh well, now what?
Right.
But in the Ultros League, 21 checks would get the skip, and so I hit that right at my last dragon, so I would have been able to, in the league settings, warp out and go straight to the statues.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Skipping leader was at the Inferno spot, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
so
that was leader. Yep.
Not that big of a skip over, but
true. Yeah, it wouldn't have been that crazy of a skip, but yeah.
Did anyone else find Katana Soul and a monster in the box, or did we all get ours?
Everybody got theirs from Floating Continent.
Even that fight was scary. I barely
yeah.
got through that one.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
I had a desperation shadow attack, and it was
Yes.
like the sap damage from that is what killed Katana. So I was like, oh, they're going in. I thought I bounced a flare off of their reflect too. I was like, oh man,
Yeah.
that was
Oh
a
yeah.
bad move.
That was such a scary moment. Yeah, we saw the reflect come out. We saw Strago get taken out by that, and then yeah, I was like, oh, the desperation attack from Shadow. Really came in clutch there.
I'm messaging Turdsman in the race room. I told him, all right, time to one-shot this. And he responded, I'm so high level, if I lose, I quit for good.
Yeah, that's. We'll have to hold him to it. No, I'm just kidding. I'm sure he'll do fine. It's as scary. I feel like as scary as Kefka is, right? Like it's so in a sense scripted now. Like we know exactly who to fight. We know exactly who to try to damage and who to take out first, second, last, whatever. It obviously there are the wrenches in the plan if we don't have mute or to deal with tier 2 and things like that. There's definitely things that can happen, but it's also like it's very scripted in a way.
Yeah, definitely. I would say the biggest like wild card overall is going to be what Tiger does on tier 2, because if they start acting a fool and like freezing the wrong people, or although there's a lot of fire going on, so I think that'll be okay. But the other thing is just they love to zombie your powerhouse, and then like
Yeah, it's
bad things
kinda,
happen.
yeah, tier 2 is always the one that like it gives me the hiccup in terms of going through Kefka.
Yeah, and I don't think any of us probably found, because we had Ultima for 254 magic on, and I've definitely seen like a muddled and or like zombie cast Ultima on the party during Final Kefka. It didn't take very long after like the new settings came out. I think it was like a couple days before I saw a clip of like, oh, Ultima is back, and that means you can accidentally cast it on your own party and kill everyone.
Yeah. That's true. Alright, so Turdsman's using Siren here to help cast Mute, so that's good, right? So that's one of like the worries, right, of tier 2 kind of out of the way.
What's this accidentally cast Ultima on your own party business?
Yeah,
Like,
it can happen.
Yeah.
Are you talking about the confused status, or
Yes.
Yeah, muddle
Right, so
or
in Final Fantasy 6 they call it muddle. But yeah. Or zombie will do that. Or have that potential of doing that.
got you?
And yeah, we set up these new settings. It's 254, right? Ultima for 254. So it only costs 254 MP, where when you're at a high enough level, I mean that's going to be an easy cost to meet. So if they do happen to get muddled or on a zombie status, yes, you can accidentally cast Ultima on your own party.
It's gotta be hilarious to see in action. Not to have happen to you, of course.
Yeah. Yeah, to see it happen to somebody else.
yeah, like just playing this game long enough, like there's so many interesting and frustrating ways to
That you
die. You know, and I think as a newer player, there were a couple bosses like Leader or like the fish. You know, I was like, well, how am I ever gonna die to this boss? But like, if scaling gets high enough, those fish can hit pretty hard, and Leader will act super hard too. So it's like, yeah, there's been times that I've been in like a one-on-one with bad armor, and they just chop me down right away. You know, like it's like, oh, okay, can lose. I don't think tunnel armor's ever got me. That's probably like the one on the list that even at high levels
They just don't really. They're not that much of a threat.
Tunnel armor was
No.
kind of a threat to me in vanilla.
Oh, definitely.
yeah.
Where it is.
Yeah,
And
in vanilla.
given the amount of characters you have
Yeah.
and which characters they are.
Yeah, but that's Worlds Collide will do that to you. Worlds Collide is a bit of a different beast. The vanilla knowledge of interactions, magical interactions, or item interactions, or very specific things like that can really help a lot, especially with some of these scarier bosses or some of these more really niche interactions, because they can really help you speed through a run. But it's also very much like a different beast, because it's like you can run into a scary boss like Poltergeist or Doom at level 10, and it's a completely different battle, versus you could run into Tunnel Armor at level 40, 30, whatever, and could still, could be scary because they're also a really high level, but it's also can be very trivial because you could have a Shadow with a Valiant Knife offering that's dealing 8,000 damage a hit.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. Definitely. And then it's interesting too with like the scaling. I know we've had some like tournament flag sets that will scale up to 50, with like more aggressive intervals for scaling going up, and certain bosses when they get into like the 50s will start like casting Medio and Ultima and like Grand Train on the party. So like Poltergeist in particular has like a threshold that they're already bad enough, but like when they are crossing it and get to like their highest element scaling, they are just a nightmare. Stop is our friend against them. Definitely, like they're weak to poison too, so like it's one of the rare times that bio can be useful.
True.
In Worlds Collide. I didn't even think about Stop. I probably had it as a spell against the Spice Chicken, and I just was too tired to think about all of my tools.
Yeah, well, I gotta say, you played extremely well despite being an insomniac this morning, whatever time it is.
For sure. It's a good warm up. Hopefully, let it sink in for my Sunday night race against some tough competition.
Yeah, I was about to shout out Sunday night. Come back and watch another race, and we got some incentives for that one. You can, you the public can decide whether or not we're gonna save Sid or not. And if you guys want to watch the opera scene again, then definitely make your donations and send those incentives towards those.
Now I'm wondering, since I'm going to be on, I'm going to be hosting. Should I be the one singing it?
Yeah, probably. I'll have to check with the commentators that night. Maybe one of them wants to give it a go for probably the right amount of donations.
Yeah.
That's like an extra bonus. Is we unlock the opera, then I think we can probably bribe someone on the.
Yeah, put another $50 on there for make Gigas sing the opera.
That could be good. That could be fun.
Alright, yeah, we're getting the Goner charge here. This is where we unload with everything we got, break our shields.
I was about to start talking about that, and then you just hit with Shadow, and the fight was over.
Yeah, that is nice. It's pretty rare when you get to skip everything that the last tier of Kafka.
I was like getting ready to go into my spiel about how we, track the damage and we count and, we try to plan for right before this counterattack phase. And then it was already over.
That is a GG for turds.
There we go.
Get the final time in. I think that yes.
208.
Total time
12.
of 6:01:47. Team B, the team of Arlux, St. Von Jester, and Turdsman, were the fastest in the overnight relay. I think we all won. Team A, myself, Pebble Possum, and Atoli were about 17 minutes behind. And then Team C,
They had a do
Unknown
not or did
47,
not finish.
Batsy, and Nobody War. Yeah, they had a do not finish, but still under 7 hours.
Turd had a do
Unknown
not.
47,
You did.
Batsy, and Nobody War. Yeah, they had a do not
I
finish, but still
I normally
under
play
7
this game a little
hours.
bit better than that. I don't know what happened to me in the beginning there. Like every single thing, like I think I fell over laughing when movers were in front of Narsh. That was incredible.
There was a lot going on this seed. There was a lot of painful battles that had to be fought.
I will
There's
say,
no way around them.
sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying there was like no way around them. You just had to go through it.
Yeah, like I will say the biggest mistake I made was I didn't just suck it up and go search shops for breakable rods. Like I should have done that before trying all of that weird nonsense. Or it's like, I don't know, maybe I'll just get lucky when I get to the end of Burning House. Stranger things have happened. Yeah, that was an incredible seed.
Yeah.
All right, I'm
thanks
sure
to
everyone.
everybody. Go ahead.
I'm sure
Gabe.
everyone would appreciate it if we hurried along.
Yes,
I'm sorry.
absolutely. Thank you
Yes,
for letting me
indeed.
say a couple things here.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, thank you
Yeah,
to everybody
definitely.
who watched.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Thanks to everyone that participated in the relay. I had a great time, and more marathon to come.
Thank you all for being here. The entire relay, not just you guys.
Yes, thank you to everybody. Entire relay, everybody who did this overnight block, everybody who put in the work and the effort to set this up and put on a wonderful event that is going to continue through the weekend.
It sure is. So I am going to hand it off to Maddie for hosting duties, and I am going to sleep. Because I've
Get
also
some
been
rest.
up all night.
That's a great
Yeah,
idea.
get some rest. Get some rest, guys. Enjoy the
And
rest.
when I wake up, I will be hosting again very soon.
Alrighty, see you soon. Have a good one.
Later.